Okay, so here's the fuel sender unit that we're taking out of the DeLorean. So obviously we've got the tube. The tube is just taken apart. The filter is sort of non-existent anymore on there, but I hear that's irrelevant. The main thing that's broken is this wire, and I think the thing we need to know is what kind of wire to replace it with, resistance-wise, because I can take the bolt off of the other side here, and obviously get at the top of that to resolder it. Everything else is pretty much intact. I'd have to reattach this, the top of that, to the black wire contact in the middle. But that shouldn't be too difficult. So yeah, main question is, do we know what wire to replace this with? Is it a certain resistance? Is there a certain thing?
Rightio. This is an interesting one for me today. I was asked to have a look at a DeLorean's fuel gauge sensor, kind of mechanical based, and me and the fella who owns it, it might be a good idea. He suggested putting a YouTube video out there about it, because this is an extremely common fault for them. Every bit of knowledge helps, I guess. So yeah, this, when I received it, was in two separate parts, and that is mainly because they're on this one. I've looked at ones, there's like a rivet on here, but this one has a thread and it had a nut, and the whole assembly clamps together. So what's happened over time is the center kind of pole is a soft metal. It's like a brass or something like that. You can see here it's just stamp riveted onto a spade terminal technically, and you can see by the curvature of the plastic it's been pulling for a long time, and it's finally given in and pulled through. So I've brought it back through and soldered it onto here. My eyes, it doesn't really need to be clamped tightly together. Fuel just needs to be able to go inside and up and down. Its whole job in life. So they were in two separate bits. This wire was broken up here, and then the whole job for this line is to go down to this bottom plate here, and it's kind of like the end light on the dash. When the tank's empty, rock bottom hits this and illuminates the dash. And maybe out the way. So a lot of corrosion can build up on this flat plate here. You can see the best quality I've got, but it's nice and shiny. And then that touches a plate against the float right here inside. So when the two come together, they touch, send signal to dash. And the other problem we had with this unit was I noticed I wasn't getting any reading from the top. So this is a big long spring of resistance wire wrapped around, well, would have been a rubber bit of tubing, but that has been sitting in petrol for God knows how long. Yeah, so there's no continuity from there to this brass piece here. So that led me, there's a bit of slack in this. Also what's built up is gunk and corrosion inside this piece here. So I ended up very slightly filing it away with a little diamond file. So I had some clean material and put a little patch of solder to the washer here. That restored connection back to here and back up to the spring. So as well, if you're attempting one of these, clean these as well. They glide on that spring for your resistance reading back. So what I'm going to do is try and reassemble this, just in case anyone has trouble in the future of the assembly of one of these. So ideally you want to keep all three objects at a level plane, what matches this here, all level. The first thing we want to put back on is its outer cover. See, there is this lovely little curved notch here, just to make things a little bit more inconvenient for you. Make sure you can see there's an indentation here, but because it curves outwards it acts like a wedge, so we use this nice empty gully, bring it through here, then rotate it to match where that sits, and that is the tube on. So then you will notice up here that save curve indentation is there to match up that part of the tube. Well, that seems to be in there quite nicely. So then we come to the base cap. So there is 3 holes. Centre one for nut, smallest one is the fill for petrol, and this bigger one here is for the seating of the resistor rod here. So you got to play a lovely game juggling it about to get it onto the resistance rod, and then just guiding both together. So now we've got the thread coming through, we've got the resistance rod coming through. Then you'll notice there is a locating notch just here, so we're going to bring that round and just give it a little squeeze. There we are. So just make sure that curvature is still sitting in the curvature up there, and I had to leave this nut sitting in lubricant and penetrance because it's such soft metal. Just did not want these threads to get chewed up. We want them nice and buttery smooth, because my understanding is it's not the easiest thing to get replaced or repaired. And just going to wait for a camera to focus one day. I really had to go rummaging for a socket that fit nicely. So this is a 5.5mm socket. So I don't want to put too much on it. Just noticing, making sure it's still all aligned, but this wheel, you want it to kind of pop into place, because you can see it's hard to see on the camera, but as I'm rotating it, the cylinder is not perpendicular to the cap. It's just this little tilt. It's got all these little bits to slot into. It might help if I just slide the washer down. Ah, there we are. There we are. It's just, there's another little plastic notch here. It sits into this groove. And now we're in. Let's back up there. Oh, someone's calling me. Answer that in a minute. And then we've got a strain relief. This would have had a mesh on the bottom, but that has long perished. But in all, that is it right there.
Okay, we are back to fitting the gauge. So Ashley's fixed it. There it is. It's ready to go. It does a wonderfully smooth action because he's a very smart chap. There is the dot of solder making it all happen, and about to take off this placeholder to fit it. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we're putting her in. Now there's a notch there. I'm not sure what that corresponds to.
Whereabouts?
Oh, there's a notch here as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to correspond that to that. And assume that that is the correct.
Oh, there's a notch.
Yeah, see that? It marries up.
The location. Yeah.
Then, oh yeah, it's floating. There you go. So that's why we've got that part exactly to put over. So we have to put that over the wire, aren't we? Yeah. And then screw down. But the thing is, I want that to stay still. So if you put your finger there,
To keep the pressure on that location.
yeah, just there, and I'm going to turn it just enough. Okay, that's good. And then we're going to retrieve this guy. Hope it doesn't fall down. Probably should have done that first, but oh well. I'm going to put down the phone while I do that. Okay, so it's in.
Yeah. Fuel gauge is going up.
Moment of truth. Just switch the electrics on. Fuel gauge is having a think.
It isn't. It's moved right up.
I know, it's because I filled it up full of petrol. So I guess that's it really. I don't even think you need to start it, do you, to see the difference, right? You think? Well, I'd say that's a successful job regardless. It's not pointing north, is it?
No.
Rated it, right? I think it's going to stay there. So yeah, all in all, Ash, great job. Sorted.